All right, let's jump right into a fascinating topic today, the incredible world of mother trees.
Sounds good.
And specifically their role in making forest ecosystems resilient.
Oh, okay.
We're going to be taking a deep dive into Chapter 7 of Roots of Complexity, which is a book all about trees.
Right?
And this chapter focuses on the fascinating ways that these, like elder trees, these mother trees, actually shape the forest they live in.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. These mother trees are sometimes hundreds of years old,
Wow.
and they act like these central hubs in this gigantic underground network.
Huh.
Almost like you could call it like a living internet that connects the whole forest.
A living internet.
Yeah.
I like that. That's a really cool way to put it.
Yeah.
I remember reading about mycorrhiza, those fungal networks that connect trees,
Uh-huh.
but I never really fully grasped how intricate and how important they are.
Well, yeah, I mean, picture this. Fine threads of fungi just weaving through the soil, connecting the roots of all these trees together,
Ooh.
both young and old.
Okay.
And this allows them to actually communicate and share resources.
So it's not just like a competition for sunlight and water above ground.
Right.
There's this whole other level of cooperation happening below the surface.
Yeah, exactly. And the mother trees, because they have these massive root systems
Okay.
and all these really well-established connections to this network, they're the key players in this whole underground system.
Gotcha.
So they can transfer essential nutrients, things like nitrogen and phosphorus, to these little seedlings that are just struggling to establish themselves.
So it's almost like the mother trees are giving these young trees a little bit of head start.
Yeah.
Like a boost in this whole forest, rat race.
Uh-huh.
But why? Why would they do that? Wouldn't it make more sense for them to just keep all those resources for themselves?
Well, yeah, that's where it gets really interesting. Research has actually shown that seedlings that are connected to mother trees are up to 4 times more likely to survive. And it's not just about their own offspring.
Really?
Mother trees can be connected to a ton of seedlings,
Oh, interesting.
even ones that are from different species.
Wait, so they're helping out trees that aren't even like their own kids.
Yeah,
That seems kind of counterintuitive,
yeah.
especially in an environment where resources can be, pretty limited.
Well, yeah, it might seem that way, but fostering this kind of biodiversity actually makes the entire forest stronger.
Okay.
You can think of it like a diversified investment portfolio, right?
Huh?
So by supporting a mix of different species, the mother trees are essentially creating this really resilient ecosystem that can handle disturbances better. Things like storms or fires or even, outbreaks of pests.
Okay, that makes sense. So a diverse forest is more likely to have at least some trees that can tolerate those challenges.
Exactly.
But how does this underground network actually work when there is a disturbance?
Okay.
Like, can these mother trees really help other trees to recover?
Yeah, absolutely. The mycorrhizal network is like a safety net.
Okay.
It allows the mother trees to actually share resources with trees that have been damaged. So, imagine this. A huge oak tree. Its crown has been totally scorched by a fire.
Oh, wow.
But it can actually still draw water and nutrients from a nearby mother tree through this fungal network.
So they're sharing their strength, almost like
Yeah.
with the trees that are in need.
Exactly.
Kind of like a built-in support system.
Yeah.
A lifeline during those tough times.
Exactly. And Dr. Suzanne Simard's research on Douglas fir trees showed that mother trees will even prioritize giving resources to their own seedlings during stressful times.
Wow.
So they're making sure that their own, lineage will survive.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's a really complex web of communication and resource sharing.
Yeah.
And it's all happening right under our feet.
This is mind-blowing. So it's not just about individual trees surviving, right?
Right.
It's about the entire forest community working together. And these mother trees have this crucial role in maintaining the stability of that community and its resilience.
Yeah, precisely. And that resilience is becoming even more important now with climate change, happening.
Yeah.
And it's altering all the conditions that forests have adapted to over centuries.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. That's a perfect segue to our next point, I think.
Okay.
It sounds like this ability to adapt is really key.
Yes.
And maybe mother trees have something to do with that too.
They do. Mother trees actually help to shape the genetic makeup of all the future generations of trees.
Wow.
And this makes sure that the forest can actually adapt to the changing conditions.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit. How do they influence the forest's genetics?
Well, you see, Well, you see those seedlings that are connected to the mother tree network.
Yep.
They're not just passively receiving nutrients,
Right.
they're also being exposed to like a whole bunch of genetic information.
Oh, interesting. So it's almost like a school, but for trees,
Yeah. Yeah.
passing on knowledge and experience through the generations.
That's a great way to think about it, yeah. So the mother tree, through this mycorrhizal connection, can actually influence which genes are expressed in the seedlings.
So they're actually playing a role
Yeah.
in shaping the traits of future trees.
Exactly.
That's incredible. But how does that help forests adapt to, like, big things like climate change?
Well, think of it this way. A forest that has a really diverse gene pool, it's like a toolbox that's filled with all these different tools.
Okay.
And you're much more likely to have the right tool for the job, whatever that job happens to be, right?
Right. Yeah.
So in a changing climate, those tools might be, I don't know, genes for drought tolerance or heat resistance or the ability to like fight off new pests or diseases that pop up.
So the more genetic diversity a forest has, the better prepared it is to handle like all the curveballs that the environment might throw at it.
Exactly. And the mother trees, by helping with this genetic exchange,
Yeah.
they're basically making sure that the forest has a wider range of options,
Okay.
a greater capacity to, adapt and thrive even when conditions are changing all around them.
It's like they're the keepers of the forest's genetic library, making sure that there's enough variety to ensure a healthy future for the whole forest.
Yeah, it really is. It's a remarkable strategy for long-term survival.
Yeah.
And it highlights how incredibly important it is to protect these older trees.
Right.
Because when we lose mother trees, we're not just losing timber, right?
Yeah.
We're losing generations and generations of accumulated knowledge and resilience.
It makes you think about like how we usually view forests.
Yeah.
I think we often focus on like the economic value, the timber we can harvest. But there's so much more going on.
Absolutely.
Like all these complex relationships, the interconnectedness, the wisdom that's passed down for generations.
Yeah.
It's like a whole different way of seeing the forest for the trees.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. And I think like understanding this, recognizing this vital role of mother trees, it has huge implications for how we approach forest management,
Okay, let's dive into that a bit. What would a more like mother tree aware approach to forestry actually look like in practice?
Okay, well, for starters, I think it would involve shifting our focus,
Okay.
away from simply trying to maximize timber yield
Uh-huh.
to more like prioritizing the long-term health and the resilience of the entire forest ecosystem.
So instead of looking at trees just as like, individual commodities,
Yeah.
we need to start seeing them as part of this intricate web of relationships.
Exactly. We need to protect those older trees, those mother trees, because they are so crucial in fostering biodiversity,
Okay.
supporting regeneration and just making sure that the forests can adapt to future challenges.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But how do we actually put that into practice? Are there like specific logging techniques or strategies that would be like more beneficial in that way?
Yeah, definitely. There are several things that we can do. One is to move away from clear cutting,
Okay.
which is where you remove every single tree in an area, and that completely disrupts that mycorrhizal network, right?
Right.
And it just leaves the soil really vulnerable to erosion.
Yeah.
Instead, we could use like a selective logging practices where you just target specific trees
Okay.
while leaving the mother trees and a healthy mix of other species intact.
So it's about finding a balance between harvesting timber, but also maintaining that ecological integrity of the whole forest.
Precisely. And it's also really important to minimize soil disturbance during those logging operations
Okay.
because those fungal networks are actually pretty delicate and they can be damaged really easily.
Oh, wow.
So using lighter machinery or even, horses
Oh,
to extract timber can help to reduce that impact.
this is making me rethink my whole idea of what forestry even is.
Yeah, I know. It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's not just about planting new trees.
Right.
It's about protecting the existing forest structure, especially those mother trees.
Yeah.
Because they're like anchors for that whole system.
Absolutely. And that actually brings us to another important aspect of mother tree aware forestry, recognizing the value of leaving dead trees in the forest.
Dead trees. I'm intrigued. Why would we want to leave those standing? Don't they like pose a fire hazard?
Well, while it's true that dead trees can add to the fuel load in a forest fire,
Okay.
they also have this really vital role in keeping the ecosystem healthy.
Uh-huh.
Like they provide habitat for tons of species,
Mhm.
insects, birds, small mammals.
Oh, right.
And as they decompose, they release all those nutrients back into the soil, which makes it richer for future trees.
So it's like recognizing that they still have value even after they died.
Right.
Like they're still giving back to that forest community.
Exactly, exactly. And when it comes to mother trees, these standing dead trees, we call them snags, they can actually turn into nurseries for new seedlings.
Hmm.
Yeah, the mycorrhizal networks a lot of times will extend right into these snags.
Ah.
And that provides a way for nutrients and moisture to get to those young trees.
That's fascinating. It's almost like these dead trees become like a bridge between the old and the new.
Yeah.
Helping to facilitate that next generation of forest growth.
It's a beautiful cycle, and it just highlights how interconnected everything is in the forest ecosystem.
Yep.
From that tallest mother tree to the tiniest little seedling to the fungi that are just weaving their way through the soil.
Yeah.
It's all part of this intricate web of life.
This has been like a real eye-opener for me, this whole conversation.
Yeah.
I used to think of forests as just these like static, unchanging places.
Right.
But now I see them as these like dynamic, always evolving communities that are constantly adapting and responding to everything around them.
Yeah.
And like at the heart of it all are these incredible mother trees, just, shaping the forest for all the generations to come.
That's a great way to put it. And that understanding, like shifting your perspective in that way,
Yeah.
I think it's crucial for our future, as we deal with all these challenges of climate change and deforestation and loss of biodiversity.
Right.
We really need to rethink how we see forests.
Yeah.
We need to move away from this mindset of just taking from them and embrace this more holistic approach, where we're prioritizing the long-term health and resilience of these really vital ecosystems.
It sounds like protecting those mother trees is a really key part of that.
Absolutely.
But how do we do that? How do we make sure that these ancient trees and all the wisdom they hold
Yeah.
are, protected for future generations?
Well, I think on a policy level, we need to really advocate for sustainable forestry practices that prioritize protecting those older trees.
Okay.
And we need to support research that really dives deep into how forest ecosystems work and what the role of mother trees is. And I think educating the public is huge, like helping people understand how important these trees are and how interconnected nature really is.
So it's about raising awareness, changing our mindset,
Yeah.
and making choices that support the health of forests, both locally and globally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And remember, even the small things we do can make a difference,
Yeah.
Like planting trees in your community, supporting organizations that are working to protect forests, or even just spending time in nature and really appreciating the beauty of it.
Right.
All these things contribute to creating a more sustainable future.
This deep dive has been like a real journey of discovery,
Good.
revealing this hidden world right beneath our feet and like the incredibly vital role that mother trees play in shaping the forests we know and love.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that there's always more to learn about the natural world,
Absolutely.
and that our actions have this really profound impact on the delicate balance of life on our planet.
They do.
Yeah.
And as you go out into the world, I encourage you to really look for those mother trees, those wise elders of the forest.
Yeah.
Observe their surroundings, notice all the diversity of life that they support,
Yeah.
and maybe even feel that sense of connection to the intricate web that binds us all together.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep into all the wonders of our world.
Sounds good.